Hello friend, nice to have you here. Thank you for joining me. I'm excited to be presenting to you another awesome video on color mixing today. We're going to mix a color of sky, the sky color. Sky colors are different all around the world, but here in Australia they're quite vibrant. We're going to have a bit of fun with that. But before we go there in a second, I would love to give you a gift of, even if you haven't painted before, if you go to paintingwithheather.com/first step. There is a lovely booklet there with all the paints, all the brushes, all the things that I use in my studio. It's a gift to you today. But let's get on and have some fun mixing sky colours. All right, even if you have never painted before, this is a lot of fun to look at how colours work. I am using oil paints. But you can use acrylics, whatever that is, whatever you have, might be watercolour. But this is how I mix the sky colours. I have spent a bit of time looking in galleries and stuff and looking at a lot of the European sky, and it tends to have a little bit more yellow in it. So I'm going to play around a little bit today and you'll see where we head. Who knows where we're going to head. I am using Ultramarine because if you've seen any of my other material on YouTube and talking about colours, actually the episode before this, I only have a set amount of colours and I like to stick with that. But I must say sometimes it's really good to find yourself a cobalt blue. Unfortunately, it's very expensive. So I only have it in one place and it's at home. I'm at my studio at work, so I don't have it with me, which is fine because I like to work with the colours I have. So Ultramarine's what I have. There's cobalt also that you can use, or Prussian blue, I think that's another one, cerulean blue. But ultramarine is where we're at. So let's keep having a look at this one. All right, so let's have a look at the colours that I've put out here. So we have ultramarine, we have sapphire, turquoise, magenta, a bit hard to see that that's a magenta, but you can see there, and a yellow and a white. So they're the colours I'm going to use for getting this here. Now, I've never tried to mix this particular colour that you can see here. I've got the image here. So, you'll see how I wrestle through and work it out. I'm not going to get it straight away, but that's great. That's how it works. This is how you're going to work it out too. First of all, what I like to do is start with, you can see that up in this section here, it's very deep dark. It's more blue than white. So I will start with some blue on my canvas here. On my palette here. Start with some blue. That's obviously very, very, very light, dark. Why am I saying light? I don't know why I'm saying light. I'm going to grab some white and mix that in. So ultramarine. All right, let's get that colour going there. As you can see, it's not really exactly the right colour up there. If I can move that up to there, you can sort of see it's still a little bit too light. So let's go for a little bit darker blue. Grab some more blue in there. All right. Now, I still don't feel like it's got depth to the colour. So some of the other colours I've got here is like the turquoise and the sapphire. I'm going to grab a little bit of sapphire and put it in there just to give it a bit more depth, just to change the colour up a bit. And this is where you just experiment with different blues and different colours. And I love the sapphire and the turquoise for those reasons. So that's getting pretty darn close there, and I'm not minding that. So when I get really close with a colour, I like to just go on and just play with it on the canvas and see if I feel, because sometimes when you get it on the canvas, it can feel like it's not actually right, or it just gives you a good idea. So let's have a look at that. What do you reckon? It's not bad. It might be pretty close. Actually, I think that's not bad. All right. We have some lighter colours up here, so you can use a bit of white. Not going to mix the whole lot because I want to keep that colour. So we'll mix a little bit of the lighter blue up and across here, and using different brush strokes for different ways of making different clouds. There's so many different cloud formations and so many different colours of sky. If you come from a European country, you'll find that you'll probably want to add a little bit more yellow to the colours for some reason. I know if you look at some of the the paintings from the 18th century and that, a lot of their backgrounds are quite greeny yellow. I don't know if that's whether they've actually faded or anything, but that's just the way that is. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit more of that darker yellow up the top. darker blue up the top. All right, so what did I use? I used some white, some Ultramarine and some Sapphire. One of the things I haven't used, which I'm going to actually add in a little bit of, and often people go, what the heck, is a little bit of Magenta. I'll just grab a little bit more Sapphire and Magenta, because sometimes that just adds that, just that little bit more depth to the colour. I'm just going to put it straight on here just so you can see the depth of that. A bit more blue on there. I'm just mixing on the canvas, but it's actually made that blue come out even sort of more deep. And I think some of that colour up that we've got in there is a little bit deeper. Still think we've actually missed a little bit of that greeny colour, so I'm going to bring a little bit of that back in too. Every sky I've mixed with my students is a little bit different, and this one's a little bit different again. I don't often have to mix Sapphire. I had a little play with this before and I went, we really need Sapphire as well as the Magenta. So I'm just mixing that back in just to get a bit more of that sort of a little bit greenier feel in there. All right, looking good. So it feels almost a little bit yellow, and for those of you that are from a European country, I think I'll play around with a little bit of yellow in a minute, but I'm just going to just lighten this up down around here a little bit. Grab a fair bit of medium so I can get that flowing in there. All right, and just get a bit more of this colour up here. Fill that in, just because we want to, sort of do a bit more than just a little tiny bit of a sky today. It's quite dark up the top. I'm just going to mix the colour again. A bit of Ultramarine, a bit of Sapphire, and a bit of Magenta. A bit more of my blue, a bit more Sapphire, a bit of that. Now it's way too dark, so I want to grab some white. Just trying to mix it back to sort of what I had before, because there's quite a dark spot up in this corner here. Now I've gone a bit too bright with that, so I'll dull it down with a bit of the greeny colour. It's the Sapphire, and if I just sort of let you see, it's quite a beautiful greeny blue. All right, and as you can see, I do like mixing paints on the canvas too sometimes, just to have a bit of fun, mixing it all in on the canvas. A bit more white in there, just flowing through there. A little bit more medium just to try and get it in the cracks of those. These little canvas panels are a little harder sometimes to get the paint to get into all those little crevices. That's all right. All right, so it's quite white over here, so I'm just going to get some chunky paint here and just play around with that a little bit. Just get some nice cloudy things happening there. Wipe a bit of that paint off and do a bit of blurriness, just using it what I call like a dry brush, just getting rid of most of that paint. I'm only, because I'm doing this quickly, normally I would get a paper towel. I'm just using that there to just rub it off. I'm letting that, dragging that paint up in there, because it does have a bit of white coming back up in, this section up in here. All right, and then flicking a little bit more up in here, a little bit up in here. Anyway, it's going to be a little bit different to what's on there. It's all good. All right, now what I want to do, just to finish off, is just to show you, I'm a bit nervous about putting a bit of yellow in here, but I feel like in this bit here, it's a little bit yellowy. I haven't used the turquoise. Might be a little bit of turquoise in there. Let's throw a little bit in and see what happens. Feels like there's just a little bit in there. And that's sort of, the turquoise does sort of have that little yellow feel in it, so I'm not really keen to put the yellow on, to be honest. The turquoise I think is going to do it for me. All right, there's a little bit of that turquoisey feel up over here. So it's a colour, it's eliminating, looking at all the different colours and thinking, well, what do I see? Is there green in there? Is there blue in there? And look, adding that magenta, it really does help bring some beautiful depth into that. All right, I'm gonna add some yellow. All right, I'll do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add, look at this, the tiniest little bit, oh, a little bit more. Whoa, that might be too much, but I'm gonna play with it anyway and put it in here. Feels like it's gone a bit muddy, doesn't it? So maybe that wasn't a great option. How do we resurrect that? Well, I'm glad you asked. We wipe our brush, we go back in, we just mix another colour, get that colour a bit purer. We stay away from the yellow, I just don't think it worked. And I think it's more this turquoise colour, so I'm going to add a fair bit of that and a fair bit of white so that I can actually brighten that up a little bit. A bit more white, a bit more turquoise, a bit more blue, just to get rid of that yellow feel, but making it just that little bit lighter going in there. All right, and now just to finish off, I'm not going to do the whole lot, you know, all the clouds and everything, although I'd love to. I'm just going to get a lot lighter as we go down. More sapphire, a bit more blue. All right, just going to get a bit more colour down here. I'm going to grab a little bit of turquoise, just a little bit there, as I feel like some of this, oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. That bit of that turquoise did help. In the end, I was right to put that colour out. I just wasn't 100% sure. I know very much that I can mix ultramarine and magenta and white and get a blue colour, but it all depends on, like this is a different image, like this one here is different to anything else I've done before. So, all right, I'm going to grab a bit more white and lighten that even more because it gets lighter and lighter as we go down. More white. Look at those clouds up in the sky, obviously. So there you go. I'm not going to go and do all those little fluffy clouds today. We were just looking at sky colour. So there's a lot of different sorts of sky colours there, but I really want to encourage you to experiment, to get those colours out of ultramarine, sapphire, turquoise, magenta, spectrum yellow and white, and you might even want to try a cobalt if you have that too, or any other blues as well. Play around with your blues, but do think about adding in some of those unusual colours. It might even be a red, not a magenta. So I wouldn't introduce a black necessarily unless you've got, of course, if you've got grey clouds, you can do that, totally. But have a play with these colours. I'll put the colours down below in the comments below, in the blurby thing below. But also don't forget that there is a link here at paintingwithheather.com /first step. Nearly forgot that. Go and have a look at that. It's got all the colours that I actually have. Here's the document here of all the colours that I have in my palette, and I've used those today in this actual workshop or course or class or YouTube or whatever you call it. I don't even know what to call these things. Anyway, I'm going to go now and have a good day. And I was a little silly wearing a white shirt, but I made sure, well, I didn't make sure, but I didn't get paint on me, which was really cool. Anyway, I'm going to go. Have a great day. I hope that was really helpful. Please leave a comment below. Let me know if you've had a try at mixing some sky colours. I'd love to hear. See ya.